Okay, today we're going to look at who attended the Philadelphia Convention and how was it organized. Congress in 1787 had decided to call a convention to revise the Articles of Confederation. And the delegates met in Philadelphia in 1787. First of all, we're going to start off with the word or vocabulary word delegate. A delegate means a representative. Someone who represents the people and votes for them, since the people can't all go to vote for everything. So where was this convention held? Well, it was held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where people met up to discuss the revising the Articles of Confederation. The purpose, of course, as I said before, Congress told the delegates to develop a plan to improve the Articles of Confederation. And that was really important. It's to improve the Articles, not to do anything else, but really to fix those Articles of Confederation. That is the original purpose of the convention. Well, how many people went? 55 delegates went. Who were they? They were people like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin and James Madison. They were also, I'll tell you a little bit more about the people who went, specifically people like James Madison. The other people who were there, they were all free white males. There were no women present. They were not all rich, but none of them were poor. So farmers aren't present. Those are the type of people that were some of the delegates. James Madison, and I just showed you a picture of him. He is considered the father of the Constitution, mainly because he is the one who wrote the Virginia Plan, and he kept a journal during the convention. It's through his notes, Madison's notes, that we know everything there is to know about that convention. He pretty much did a great job of note-taking. He wrote down, for the most part, word for word, what everyone said, and the convention lasted a long time, and he was rarely absent. But he is considered the father of the Constitution because it's really his plan, the Virginia Plan, that is the basis of the Constitution. So that's why he gets that title. Only 12 states did show up for the convention. Rhode Island refused to attend the convention. They are the 13th state that refused to come, mainly because they were pretty satisfied with the Articles of Confederation and really didn't feel like there needed to be a change. But 12 other states did feel like there needed to be a change of the Articles. George Washington, as we've talked before, was in charge of the convention. He is considered sort of the president of the convention. There's that famous portrait of him and his chair. I know it's really kind of hard to see in this picture, but there's Benjamin Franklin, and at the end of the convention, this famous chair, which is in Philadelphia even today, has a picture of a sun on the back of the chair, and Benjamin Franklin makes the comment, I often looked at that chair and wondered if it was a rising or a setting sun. And he says, "Sir, I now know that it is a rising sun." In other words, that the country is at its beginnings. But yeah, there you have George Washington sort of presiding over the convention. And for the most part, he didn't speak. He didn't say much. He sort of ran the rules and regulations. He made sure that people were not talking and that they weren't, they could keep notes, but they couldn't lose their notes. And but he didn't really participate in any of the debates or really speak during the convention. He was more of the figurehead. When did this convention happen? It was May 1787. 4 months. It happened in the middle of summer. It was awful heat. Many of them were sick. Just really, this is a time period without air conditioning, so it was a really kind of a miserable time that the men were there. People who were not there, this is kind of important, who was not present at the convention? Thomas Jefferson was not there. He's in Paris. He is the ambassador of Paris. Some people believe that if Jefferson was there, he definitely would not have been for the Constitution and its ratification. Thomas Paine is also not there. Patrick Henry is not there, and that's kind of unique because he's really one of those men that really fought for the American Revolution and for this freedom. And Patrick Henry, he did not go to the convention because he smelt a rat. That's kind of the famous quote from Patrick Henry. He felt like those delegates were not there to revise or to improve the articles. He thought something fishy was happening, that they were there to pretty much create a new government. So he smelt a rat. So he chose not to attend at all. And he was right. They were ready to start a new constitution and not revise. But we'll talk about it in a second. Other people that were not there, women were not present at the convention. No, women were not allowed, again, seen as second-class citizens. Free blacks were also not present. These are not people who are represented at this convention. No slaves were present, or even poor farmers. For the most part, every man was male, they were white, and they owned some kind of property. Not all of them are rich, like George Washington and Madison, but none of them are poor, and none of them are part of the farmers, like Shays' Rebellion farmers, to be represented in this convention. Some of the first decisions that were decided at the convention, when you look at what did they decide as soon as they got there? Well, first thing that they decided, and again, this made Patrick Henry really smart. He smelt that rat. He knew this was coming. They decided they were going against what Congress had asked them to do, and they were not going to rewrite. They were going to rewrite, not revise. They were not going to improve those Articles of Confederation. They literally decided to throw them away and start over again. So pretty much this is not what Congress had told them to do. Patrick Henry smells that rat, and he is right. Number two, their second decision was that they needed to keep it secret. They needed to keep the arguments and the procedures of that convention, or the proceedings of that convention, secret for at least 30 years. They didn't want public influence. They didn't want people to know sort of what was going on. Now that's really kind of interesting, because even today, we always argue about the government being more transparent. The Obama administration and the former Bush administration had always talked about, well, we've got to be able to tell, the public what's going on, and all these secret meetings behind closed doors are usually, people are very apprehensive about that. But here we have, at the beginning of our country, the Constitution is pretty much done in secret. The public has no knowledge of what's going on. None of the arguments, none of the compromises, we don't know for at least 30 years. And then after the 30 years, Madison's notes are published. And as I said before, secret from outsiders influencing, and kept arguments silent. It also allowed, the delegates felt like they could speak out and speak their mind and not worry about public influence. And then the third decision, and their final decision among many, was that each state would get one vote. Each state would get one vote in deciding whether this document that they created would be ratified or not ratified. Okay, so we're going to move on to the compromises. There are three major compromises that really have to be known. We're going to start with, of course, what is a compromise? Well, when you have two sides that disagree with each other, each side has to give a little. A settlement of differences, each side gives a little to agree. So, for instance, if I want to go to the movies and watch one movie, but my friend wants to go and watch another movie, we've got to decide or compromise on whether or not, each one is going to have to give up a little in order to come to an agreement. We may have to do my movie today and my friend's movie tomorrow. and that would be a compromise. Representation, and I think this is kind of important. Representation equals voting power. And that's kind of what we're going to walk ourselves through today. What I need you to do is I need you to get out a piece of paper, and I'm going to walk you through the first compromise.